I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the well-run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. See conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give up.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up,
won't play the role.
Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the
Yeah. Ayo. Yeah. You know I fuck with that one. Hey, everybody got straps. Everybody posted in the trap. Everybody fumble with the set. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody wanna be killer. Everybody saying they a hitter. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody tripping. Everybody got it. Everybody get it. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody in the nigga business had enough of these bitches. I'm like, fuck on God, I ain't lying.
I don't owe you no lie. Tool on deck and I know you know why. These niggas infatuated with what I be making, so I keep the blower close by. Done with the bull like a rodeo clown. You a thug on the net, you a hoe in your town. When y'all trying to eat, get your plate and keep pushing. Will stab you to death if you hold up the line. Starving cause help didn't show up in time. The gingerbread man said his door on the line. Time after time I go put in the work. It's a dangerous job, I just hope I survive. No PTO and ain't no overtime. If you take a day off, you'll be broke in no time. You wasn't born rich, you supposed to go grind. God damn it, I figured you know that by now. I'm on the grind like I'm multiple guys, and I grind until both of them tired. I get the check and then go take a nap, and then back to the check when I open my eyes. Mind your business, keep your nose out of mine. Being broke is a sickness, you show all the signs. My patience is thin as a batch of black ice, so you better watch your step, cause you know I'ma slide.
Everybody got straps. Everybody posted in the trap. Everybody fumble with the set. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody wanna be killer. Everybody saying they a hitter. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody tripping. Everybody got it. Everybody get me. On God, I ain't lying. Everybody in the nigga business had enough of these bitches. I'm like, fuck these.
Hey, look, everybody said that they a dope dealer. I heard a fake it till you make it, but you can't fake broke, nigga. Feel like I gotta coach niggas who won't smoke. My mama ain't raised no hoe, nigga. Born with the shit while I'm alive about it. I respect the code and the die about it. No plane, no pilot. Feel like I'm flying, but the shit on these nigga when I fly by 'em. I put it all on the line, cause hating at an all-time high. Why me flip without trying? What they sellin', I ain't buying. You ain't cut from my kind. Nigga tellin' I ain't lying. Put your pride to the side. I don't owe a nigga shit. Probably hating by the bald head bitch, but I come from the bricks, made sugar out of shit. I came too far to quit. I'm locked, loaded, and lit. Bitch, I turn up. Fuck how I turn out. I went up on these niggas. I don't fuck with these niggas. I'm clutching on a nigga. I'm upping on you niggas. I don't never these bitches, and you cuffing these bitches. I pass out my mind. I show up in a show out in a showtime. Money on the line, know I'm right about mine. MJ in his prime, dollar signs, bottom line. For my squad, I'm going hard. Oh God, I ain't lying.
Everybody posted in the trap. Everybody fumble with the set. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody wanna be killer. Everybody saying they a hitter. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody tripping. Everybody got it. Everybody get it. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody in the nigga business had enough of these bitches. I'm like, fuck these. Oh God, I ain't lying.
First off, finger to these haters, swear they love you, but won't you spot in your paper? You can call me X-Ray, cause I see straight through the bullshit you throwing on the shit if you ain't know it. Nigga, I'm a boss, and that goes without saying. Cop the console just to break it, just to show 'em I ain't playing. Man, I'm tired, but I ain't quitting, trying to double, triple digits. Act the bitch if she can dig it, even with the pink and missing. Catch me dipping with a full bottle of water, about to pour it out and wasted for these thirsty ass bitches trying to play me in the mirror, talking king shit to myself for motivation. Plenty pressure from these haters, I ain't folding, I ain't caving though. I can't waste a second on you niggas, cause my daughter getting older, and these bills keep getting bigger, and these scars up on my body can't stop a nigga from winning. Not a killer, not a pimple, she say the energy given. Every move full of graces, every day a nigga living to the blood in my body, cold concrete, frigid, put it all on the line. I'm just trying to make a killing. She say a nigga brilliant, trying to suck it till it's living. Can't depend on you niggas to have my back, so my back against the wall, L-fin in my draw, trying to bag it up and ball, running when the money calls, tell the plug and drop it off, cop a bean, then it's on.
Everybody got straps. Everybody posted in the trap. Everybody fumble with the set. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody wanna be killer. Everybody saying they a hitter. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody tripping. Everybody got it. Everybody get it. Oh God, I ain't lying. Everybody in the nigga business had enough of these bitches. I'm like, fuck these. Oh God, I ain't lying.
breaking this morning, this sweeping, unprecedented order that puts a pause to all federal grants and loans at 5 p.m. today. This could be trillions of dollars in funding that impacts programs and people in the United States and around the world, things like disaster aid, aid for medical charities, food assistance programs. This all came in a 2-page memo that kind of lacks clarity on exactly how this should be implemented. It has also sparked new debates about constitutionality. A lot of questions here. Let's get right to the White House for CNN's Elena Train, who I know has been digging on this. Elena.
That's right. This is really the latest stunning use of power from President Donald Trump's White House just 8 days now into his new administration. And look, this internal memo that was circulated by the White House Office of Management and Budget says that all federal grants and loans will be halted starting at 5 p.m. today, potentially impacting trillions of dollars in spending, and also potentially impacting millions of Americans who rely on this type of funding. Now, I said, this is expected to take effect at 5 p.m. today. That means a lot of these organizations were given less than 24 hours notice of this change, and they have until February 10th to submit reports to the budget office at the White House, and from there, seeking clarity on how this will move forward. Now, one thing that is clear is that the freeze on this is something that the budget office is saying is for organizations that don't necessarily align with Donald Trump's views. I want to read for you what Matthew Vaith, the acting director of the Office of Management and Budget, said in an internal memo. He said, quote, "The use of federal resources to advance Marxist equity, transgenderism, and Green New Deal social engineering policies is a waste of taxpayer dollars that does not improve the day-to-day lives of those we serve." Now, to be clear, John, this memo does specify that Social Security and Medicare benefits are not going to be affected by this freeze. Also, individuals who receive these different loans directly will not be impacted. However, hundreds of different federal payouts are now in jeopardy, all from, charities to different research bodies, universities, community projects. All of those could be impacted by this move. Now, we've heard a lot of top Democrats sounding the alarm on this. We heard just this morning from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, a Democrat. This is what he had to say. He posted on X, quote, "The U.S. Constitution does not grant the president this unilateral authority. In Illinois, we will stand against unlawful actions that would harm millions of working families, children, and seniors." Now, we also heard from people on Capitol Hill who are arguing, again, that Donald Trump might not have the authority to do this. This is what Senator Chuck Schumer said in a statement last night. He said, quote, "Congress approved these investments and they are not optional. They are the law." So a lot of questions, as you can tell, about whether or not this is something the White House is actually able to do. Now, some experts have said that the president does have the authority, at least temporarily, to put a pause on this type of funding. But again, we really do have to see the details of this because the scope and scale of this directive is so broad and impacts so many different people that there's going to be a lot of questions on this. Now, we do plan to hear from Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, later today at 1 p.m. I expect she's going to get a lot of questions on this, John.
Her first, I think, White House press conference, and I do expect this will be a major topic there. Elena Train, great to have you on with us this morning. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Sorry to keep you waiting. I decided to do an IG Live before I walked in. As you know, there's so many people that are in angst and very concerned with the current administration that has been in for a whopping 8 days. And just imagine, we've got to go through this for a total of 4 years. I think that today will probably mean more to my district than my last swearing in, because we are definitely living in scarier times. And so I am so elated and grateful, number one, to have another opportunity to serve, but more importantly, to be able to share in my swearing in for a second term with the people that send me to DC, and again, the only people that can fire me, regardless of how many other people around the country want me to be fired. I want my district to always know that they will always be my priority, and they are always my focus.
Let me show you why I stopped paying for all my other sample libraries. This is Arcade by Output. This thing has sounds, samples, instruments, effects, everything you could ever need.
Even when I can't physically be present, because if some of you noticed, I ended up traveling the country, doing my best to try to prevent what is happening right now. And so I am so grateful to my district, because in my absence, they still gave me the strongest numbers of any challenged Democrat or Republican in the state of Texas that was seeking re-election. It was a testament to what they believe I can accomplish and what it is that I was able to accomplish. So with that, that's just my few opening remarks, but I want to make sure I get to y'all's questions. I heard y'all know all the rules, so we can start with whoever wants to go first.
Representative Teresa Woodard from WFAA,
Yeah.
ABC station here in Dallas. I'd like to talk to you about this funding freeze.
Yeah.
This is money that Congress approved.
Yeah.
So, Congresswoman, do you believe that what the president did is legal?
No, I don't. In short, I don't believe that the president has this authority. The president did say as he campaigned that he would be a dictator on day one. It sounds like he's going to continue to try his best to be a dictator. The reality is that we go through appropriations every single year. And when we go through appropriations, number one, that is because there is only one body that has the power of the purse, and that is the Congress. It has to go through 535 people and then be signed into law by one president. And so we have monies that have been appropriated by law. And so no swipe of a pen can just delete that and stop that. And unfortunately, we have someone who has a Supreme Court that he handpicked that has definitely tested the bounds of law. I think right now what we see is we have a president that is going to continue to push those bounds and test those bounds. And unfortunately, if this Supreme Court does not get it right, it will be disastrous for the Republic as a whole. The reality is that I was able to at least get a glimpse into how I feel like the Supreme Court will conduct themselves when it came down to the TikTok ban. Now, I know a lot of people feel a way about TikTok, but from a legal standpoint, at the end of the day, it was signed into law by Biden. And he was attempting to stop what had been signed into law and had been passed through both chambers. And in a 9-0 decision, the Supreme Court determined that he was unable to do that. So with that being said, if they keep up this type of energy, I think that we will see his attempt at getting rid of birthright citizenship, which if you are going to have any protections in this country, the strongest protections aren't even the fact that we pass a law. Our strongest protections arise out of our Constitution in and of itself. And so if you want to undo or change something in the Constitution, well, it takes a lot of work. It's a lot more than just passing a law. We've got to make sure that we have ratification. We've got to go to the states. The states will have to vote, and you got to get 2/3. So I don't think that anything is going to happen to our Constitution just yet, but it is scary that we have someone in the White House that absolutely does not care about the Constitution and does not care about the law, but we knew this. As the only convicted felon to occupy the White House, he's never had any respect for the law, and I honestly don't see him changing his tune anytime soon. Now, we'll see if he ends up running up against a bunch of Eileen Cannon judges who will just ignore the law, But as of right now, I can tell you that at least one district court judge in D.C. has decided that she was going to swipe down some of his attempts. That doesn't deal with everything, though. And to be perfectly honest, the White House is saying one thing while the OMB office is sending out different things. We also know that the Medicaid website went down. It just so happens that it's allegedly a glitch at the same time that we are saying that no, the OMB said that some of these things are not allowed to receive funding. So, Head Start, Meals on Wheels, SNAP benefits, LIHEP, rural electric funds, all these things are in limbo, as well as infrastructure.
Is it really in limbo though? I mean, to be honest, I look at this and they're going at programs, in my eyes, to be honest, is that they're going at, I think I fixed it. They're going at things that you can, that, right. In my eyes, she hasn't done anything but for Black people in Texas. And honestly, I look at that, right? So when you look at the law, right, and I'm going to be honest, because here's the truth, right? The following are not frozen: Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, food stamps, money for farmers, Pell Grants, Head Start, programs, and rental assistance. What he's doing is here's the thing of it is, you see that he offered 2 million federal employees to just leave, to just quit. They'll give them servants packages. He wants to make the federal government smaller. To be honest, I'm okay with it. If there's more oversight, if there's more, if neither side can do fraudulent shit, right? If nobody can get over on the next person, right? Because of some loophole in legislation or some loophole in how we go about things, right? So I'm sitting here wondering, so why is the media screaming bloody murder? Why is our politicians? It's because fear sells. They want you panicked. They want you misinformed. They need chaos to control the narrative. Don't fall for it. The crisis isn't a government shutdown. It's a manufactured outrage, distracted from what actually matters. Because why isn't nobody asking why our kids can't read? Why we have so much violence in our communities? People are worried about if there's DEI at Target, if there's DEI at Costco. Whatever happened to our morals and integrity? Not because somebody got something, because there's a loophole or some legislation about, right. They never cut the federal, right, exactly, Ben. They never cut the defense budget. And I see all these things with especially when it comes to the left. I can honestly say that now, right? Because I really believe that I sit in the middle, some fucking where, out in the middle of nowhere, because I don't agree with the right and I don't agree with the left. It's like a lot of things are becoming performative, are becoming like repetitory. We're doing things that they were doing in the 60s. We're doing things from the civil rights movement. Boycotts. Who really boycotts? Because I'll tell you like this, that a lot of people won't talk about, is that there's who owns the majority of wealth in Minnesota? It's only a 1%, like 1%. They own 1% of Minnesota owns practically a majority of Minnesota. And you don't see niggas going to them. I seen a TikTok, I'm gonna show it later, is a TikTok video where this lady was crying. She was having a meltdown over food stamps. Talk about how is her and her kids going to eat. Stop laying down, bitch. Stop letting Uncle Sam be your baby daddy. And motherfuckers gonna be like, well, you kind of a deadbeat dad. No, I'm not a deadbeat dad. I'm not a deadbeat dad, because how does it where I've never once, this is the reason why I won't pay child support, is that when there's laws that make it easier for the mom to do whatever the hell she wants, but then when it doesn't give the dad no recourse, like you go to the county sheriffs, you have to go through all this court bullshit when you can't just be adults and have a normal conversation and keep it about the kids. Not that it's got to get into everything else and they mama. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It's about the kids. And as society, we've gotten so far away from that and just being adults and getting along. So I want to just go about 5 more minutes in the Jasmine.
Infrastructure projects where people literally made contracts knowing that they were getting this money. And so I am applauding those attorney generals in states that are democratically controlled, because those are the attorney generals that have decided to come together. And frankly, if the Republican states are not interested in seeking out the funds that I'm sure Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, the funds that I'm sure that they really need more than some of these other states, then frankly, that's okay. If they don't want their money, then don't get it. We'll take it off. Next.
And I would imagine you're getting a lot of calls from your constituents now. Have you talked to anyone locally? Have they been told anything about how this would directly impact?
Who would have thought I and my husband could afford our dream home in such a short time of relocating to Canada? Hey, oh yes, that happened.
Yeah. No, I've not talked to anyone myself. Thank God for my staff. I've not talked to anyone directly. I just know that I've been receiving, if it's someone's my personal cell phone number, I've been receiving panicked text about everything, from birthright citizenship to whether or not, I mean, even when I got my hair done today, as y'all know, I had braids, and I don't anymore. But even my hairstylist was very concerned and was asking questions. So everyone is paying attention. So I will say that he's awakened everyone to the extent that they're paying attention to government. But right now, I'm going to be honest, this administration is sending out mixed signals. At the end of the day, whichever signals they're sending out, I personally believe from my legal training that all of it is illegal, regardless of which mixed signals they're sending out. And the question is how quickly we can get into court and whether or not we will have more judges that are more loyal to Trump, or if they are more loyal to the Constitution and the oath that they swore.
Congresswoman, I'm Dave Tappett from Dallas Voice,
yes.
Your downstairs neighbor. As a strong advocate for civil rights, what do you see as the most urgent legislative priority to protect the LGBT community, especially after some of these horrible executive orders that have come out this week?
Yeah, you know, so I do want to be clear about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because I think that that's really a good place to start. And I always talk to my colleagues, because every time they say, quote unquote, DEI, it's always now like their new slur for black folk, just to be perfectly honest. But diversity, equity, and inclusion includes so much more than that, right? It includes making sure that we're looking at people that are within the LGBTQIA community and making sure that they have protections. It's looking at making sure that those that come from rural America have protections. It's looking at women. It's looking at our uniquely abled citizens. It is looking at basically making sure that we are not just old, straight white men. That's it. And it's making sure that everyone has an opportunity. It's making sure that those governmental agencies look like who we are in this country. And so I think that that probably has to be the most urgent thing, because I think that it is all encompassing, and it's looking at our civil rights as a whole. In addition to the fact that what we're experiencing is they went after our education with the affirmative action decision. This is kind of a bleed over, but this all goes to economics, right? At a time in which we still can't get anyone to agree to raise the minimum wage, which hasn't been raised in probably close to 20 years now that we're going on, we see that the billionaire class is continuously, overnight, just making more and more money. I mean, the richest man in the world literally made like another $200 billion like in the few days after the election, right? And so what we've got to do is make sure.
You're so right, Ben. And it's only going to get worse, because I'm going to show you something that just came out about 5 minutes ago. It was about 6 minutes ago. Is that new? The U.S. will cancel student visas of Hamas sympathizers on college campuses. So you see that in college campuses last year, that we were doing boycotts, we were doing sit-ins, we were doing sleep-ins on Harvard, Yale,
You know, there was a lot going on, and what were people doing? What was, you know, that's the one. I'm not for. I will tell you like this. This pisses me off a little bit because why can't you be a? They want to call you a sympathizer. When do we see people as sympathizers and not seen as like wrong is wrong and right is right? Why does it wrong has to be right? It's just like when it comes to these. I, I don't know. Fuck it. I'll say it is that you know a lot of these celebrities that are rapists and all they hear is no, but in their minds it's yes because they have so much money and power. Is that nobody can tell them no because they feel like they can beat it, and that's crazy to me. So, um, the DEI issue that people like Sheila from WCCO and DEI representatives will get mad about DEI, but not Cop City programs and nonprofits get sponsored by Cop City programs. No boycotts there. No, I definitely agree because here's the thing of it is, I'm going to show you something else that I was tagged in this morning on Twitter, and this is like there's a whole press conference going on tomorrow. Um, he mentioned me. That's what it was. So there's a whole press conference going on tomorrow. I'm gonna show you right here. So you see reparations on the move summit, the Minnesota Migration Act. Yeah, Council for Minnesotans of African Heritage, Black Lives Matter Minnesota. Nakima is the keynote speaker. This is February 22nd, 2025, and at North Point. North Point. I hope people see this shit. North Point, just like the same way they're going to Target tomorrow to do a press conference about DEI and you know telling Target that they need to do this, they need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because they're mad. There's a lot of places, you know, Hy-Vee that sponsors the Vikings. They got rid of their DEI initiatives. Um, there's only corporations, and I don't even know how long Costco will honestly be able to. Um, I paid a lot for my motherfucking membership, and I like their hot dogs. I like their chicken wraps, whatever the fuck they want to go. I think they got good prices. I really like this. I like my Noosa, so I definitely will keep on going to Costco. Um, but it trips me out. I'm still going. I might even fucking go to Target now. You know what I'm saying? Like these people don't piss me off. It's crazy as hell talking about because when everybody sit here and talks about boycotts. How y'all? This my thing of it is because this would hurt me, right? There's a picture going around on Facebook, and there's a mother. I'm not gonna say this because it's the names because it's an impacted family. Um, but she called the police on her husband, and it's like what the? How can y'all? This my thing of it is. How can y'all be fuck 12 and then be comfortable with the police? I got a question. How can y'all say fuck 12 or fuck the police? Somebody that took your child off. They want to say what to me wasn't even justice. To me, it wasn't even near accountability. And you call the police on a black man. I don't understand it. You can't say fuck 12 and then want to call the police on somebody. I don't understand that. I don't understand that how these motherfuckers are out here talking about fuck 12, and they be right in their Rolodex or get paid by the motherfucking cops, get paid by city governments because they got contracts that states directly in them sometimes that you can't say shit about the popos. You can't talk about the police. So you just went from fuck 12 to sucking 12 dick. And that's crazy as hell to me. That's why I say this whole movement to me is a farce. Black Lives Matter, Minnesota. When did Black Lives ever matter? They're profitable. You guys are false. Because nothing ever changes. Nothing. That Minnesota Migration Act, that's been in motherfucking the House for at least 5-6 years that I can see that it comes back up there. That's not about us. How you got crackheads? People that aren't Minnesota. Nikema don't even qualify for this shit. She's not a Minnesotan. She wasn't born here. She only came here because, here's the thing of it is, people know her past. Same with Leslie Redmond. Chantel fucking Allen. You know, that's the crazy thing. People do never want to do their homework. They never want to do their homework. And it's sad is that black people get paid off of other black people's pain, off the trauma. You know, an impacted family put up some GoFundMe's the other day, and it was about 4 or 5 of them, right? And there was a big ass difference, and I was like, that's crazy. There was George Floyd, got millions. Tyree Nichols got millions. Eric Holmes didn't get nothing, barely anything. And it's like, what Black Lives matter and what Black Lives don't? I don't understand that. Because if there's a price tag with it, they matter. As long as it comes with a price tag, it matters. And that's wild. That's wild to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't understand it. You see people up protesting every day for, you know, the wrongs of others, the wrongdoings. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that, you know, police have been found guilty. Well, Derek Chauvin wasn't the first. He won't be the last. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I know people talking about, oh, Derek should get out. Probably. For George, no. He's definitely should get out for, but Zoya and the 14-year-old Jonathan Pope, he's not 14 anymore. You broke civil rights. You were doing things to individuals and hurting them. All because our elected officials like R.T. Ryback, Mariano Redondo, Madria Redondo, whatever the fuck his name is, were allowing people to do things because people had body cam footages. And instead of, we got to make laws for police departments to release the videos. That's crazy. For the police to be able to give us the truth, we had the right laws. Right? We had the right laws. That's crazy to me. And we still have laws out there where the police, and we got to fight for it. And I see a whole, just like I seen in Rochester, right? There's a Jeff Storms. And it's like, niggas, people really need to do their homework because, you know, CBS News came up with a good comparison when it came to Mayo Clinic and how they treat black people. And that really went over a lot of people's heads. I'm going to say it. It really went over a lot of people's heads, especially Black America. It went over our heads because Mayo Clinic is part of the problem. You people don't understand how much control. Because if you got money to play, you're going to pay. For real, that's why you seen Walls coming up here and doing the mostest for the hostess. He was doing the mostest. And people were falling for it. Just like they're falling for it with Leah Fenke. You know, that's the one crazy thing. These people come up here and they fearmonger. They fearmonger. They fearmonger. And we go for it. Every time we go for it. I don't get it. I don't get it. Damn, ICE. Damn, that's crazy. I honestly don't know what to say about it. That's a big ass number.
$1 million. And Kata, I know you have been pointing out all that money that is being taken away from improving the school situation, the healthcare system. Obviously, the streets are dealing with a lot of crime. Final thought from you.
Final thoughts are, Tom Homan, you are welcome. I voted for President Trump. And let me tell you something. I was one of those lifelong Democrats. I started voting at 18, voted in every election, voted Democrat in every election except this last one because I'm just tired. I'm tired of the same old thing happening from the Democratic Party. I'm so glad that President Trump is now delivering on some of his promises.
There are a lot of
I heard
people
Stephen Smith ask this earlier on the Lamar store. What has the Democrats delivered for us lately?
What have they done for us lately? Right. This man came in there. Here's everybody wanted to talk about Project 2025. Did anybody read Trump 47? I think that's what it was called. The website he had up during his when he campaigned, when they tried to compare Project 2025. That's because it busted up Project 2030. It busted up Project 40 so that we would never get to it. Right? It's not about sitting here and it's about smaller government, not a bigger government, but a smaller, so that we control it. Because right now it's anybody controls it. And does their thinking benefit us? Does their thinking benefit the embetterment of us? Does it better our communities? That's one thing that people really sit here and need to think about is elections have consequences, right? They have consequences. They have consequences, right? Because I want to show you something. Remember when I was talking about the richest 1% of Minnesota families own nearly 1/3 of the wealth? Do people understand what that means, or do you not? Right? So the wealthiest communities in the Twin Cities are roughly 10 times richer than the poorest ones, according to a new database of household wealth. Median households in parts of the West Metro, including Lake Minnetonka, Plymouth, and Maple Grove, have a net worth well over $400,000. Those in those parts of South Minneapolis and western part of St. Paul have closer to $40,000. Meanwhile, Minnesota has became also concentrated in fewer hands. Net worth or wealth is a measure of a household's assets, like cash accounts, retirement accounts, and home equity, minus its debts. It's the debt. For most people in the middle class, home equity is the chief component of household wealth. Many families have a negative net worth, which means their debts are greater than their assets. In the richest areas of the country, like Palo Alto or the New York City suburbs, the typical family is well worth over $1 million. In the poor communities, which are in New York, Houston, and Milwaukee, the typical family has only $18,000 in assets. People who grow up in wealthier places can reap benefits that span generations. Tom Kameny, one of the database compilers, explained in a recent commentary, as a result of property taxes and philanthropy, wealthier communities have greater resources for school, healthcare, transportation, and other infrastructure. So, again, here is a median household net worth, right? This is 2020. This is kind of old numbers, but look at it. You look at it up here. So, blue goes anywhere from 200 to 300, 200 to 100,000. Boom, bam, wham. Then you go to the suburbs in Minneapolis. Look at that. All yellow in the major cities. And then you go. So how is it that you have this one? Crazy. I will never get this, right? Is how one, I shouldn't say that because it's just not one. But then I understand it because you go out to, northern Minnesota, you go to southern Minnesota, the great metro. It's so spread out. And I'm going to talk about that later in a little bit, is that, the voter polls. How are we supposed to change anything if people aren't going out and making their voice heard? Because you can complain all day on social media, but what are you doing about it? Are you getting up and voting? Are you making your voice heard? Because it doesn't matter who you vote for. What matters is that you're voting. And I really wonder that is, so I looked up, we had a special election last night between Abigail Walters and Dean, I think his name is Colton or something. And it really shocked me how many people came out and voted. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't say that you're for everybody when nigga barely, yeah, let me shut up. But as the map shows, the richest and poorest Minnesota communities are all concentrated in the Twin Cities metro. The map is divided into public use microdata areas, which are census divisions containing at least 100,000 people. Researchers often analyze data at this geographic level because it allows them to see variation within densely populated counties. The estimates in the database are based the federal survey on consumer finances, which asks respondents about their assets and debts, as well as the census American Community Survey, which measures the demographics, income, and home ownership. Inequality grows. The data set also shows how Minnesota household wealth, mirroring national trends, has become more concentrated. Over the past 6 decades, in 1960, for instance, the bottom 50% of families owned about 10% of the state's total wealth, while the richest 1% had about 17%. By 2010, the share of wealth owned by the bottom 50 fell but roughly half, while the wealth of the richest 1% more than doubled. Those shares changed little from 2010 to 2020. That's a big divide. So we talk about that wealth gap. You know what I'm saying? It's just not about, DEI, because we've got, that DEI came around way before us. But that wealth gap, that economic justice has not got anywhere closer to the goal line. The rise in wealth inequality is driven by many factors, including the loss of high-paying blue-collar jobs, the growing concentration of white-collar jobs in coastal metropolitan areas, and big advanced economies like the Twin Cities, and changes to the tax code favoring the already wealthy. Wealth inequality in the United States is greater than in most other democracies. Racial wealth disparities, driven in part by decades of discriminatory policy making, are often staggering. Minnesota's racial disparities are among the worst in the nation, partly due to the state's long history of redlining or denying mortgages and other financial services to non-white people. Those century-old policies reverberate in maps of neighborhood inequality made today. That's one thing that people don't want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I don't understand. It's like, are people that afraid to have conversations, to get out and, talk to one another? Because we're being fear-mongered. We're being lied to, and the truth is really out there. People just need to go digging for it. Why are they doing certain things that they're doing? Why is Trump doing this? Why is Trump doing that? You think he wants to do it because this dude became I don't even like the guy. I'll be honest. I do not like Trump. This is not an endorsement for this nigga and nothing like that. But what you see is what you get. What you see is what you get, right? So I want to talk about this vote or die. Right? Does everybody remember that? No Diddy, but does anybody remember that campaign, the vote or die campaign? So I want to talk about compulsory voting. Right? Is that how we fix low turnout rates? Is to make it law where if you're an eligible voter that you have to vote? So that's what I want to talk about for a minute. And I want to let this play, and then I'll be right back.
It would be transformative if everybody voted.
The US is holding a presidential election, and it's all anyone can talk about. Or at least it's all Americans can talk about. But Americans love elections so much, they sometimes go try to force them onto other countries as a magnanimous gift. But this election is particularly important. It's the only thing American politicians seem to agree on.
This election is the most important in the modern history of this country.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
All elections are important. But we know in our bones this one is more consequential.
Despite the hype, there's every chance that this time around, just like every other US election in recent history, tens of millions of Americans won't be voting. In the 2016 presidential election, of the more than 245 million Americans old enough to vote, only 56% cast a ballot. That means a quarter of all Americans of voting age put Trump in the White House, and the rest of the world has been forced to follow along as the country tears itself apart. Low turnout isn't just an American problem. Remember Brexit? Of course you do, because it's still happening 4 years later. Only 37% of eligible British voters decided that leaving the EU was a good idea, despite 100% of the country having to live through the longest, most confusing breakup in history. So if you believe that democracy means a government for the people, by the people, it might seem strange that all the people are living with the consequences of choices made by a minority of the people. So how do you get more people to vote? For one thing, you could stop it being optional. At least 21 nations have compulsory voting laws, though they all treat the obligation differently. Some require voters to actually cast a ballot, while some just require them to turn up at the polls. The practice originated back in the 1890s, when Belgium made voting a legal requirement for men older than 20. Women at the time weren't forced to vote, because they didn't have the right until 1948. Now, Belgian voter participation hovers around 90% of eligible voters, making it one of the votiest countries in Europe. The only English-speaking country that mandates showing up is Australia, where I am now and where turnout regularly tops 90%. If you're American, you might already know this fact because American media loves pointing it out every 2 years. For countries adopting compulsory voting, it does seem to make a huge difference to turnout. Australia made turning up to the polls mandatory in 1924, after an election where less than 60% of voters participated. In the following election, that number went up to 91%. In the Netherlands, a 1917 general election only had a turnout of about 21%, soon after the country adopted compulsory voting, and at the next year's election, turnout more than quadrupled to over 88%, though it's worth mentioning the pool of eligible voters was still small, limited to Dutchmen aged 25 and older. But when the Netherlands dropped compulsory voting after 1967, participation in the following election fell nearly 15%. Chile tried something different. In 2012, they abandoned compulsory voting, but introduced compulsory registration. People arguing for the change thought it would increase political engagement. But while enrollment went up by more than 5 million, the total number of people who voted dropped. Of course, if you live in a place that requires you to vote, failure to do so generally means incurring a penalty. And not a cool penalty like in hockey where you get to have some alone time and take a rest. Usually, it's a fine. In Australia, voters who skip out on the polls need an acceptable excuse. If they don't have one, they'll get fined $20 Australian. They're kinda like American dollars, except we already have a woman on ours. One of the accepted reasons for abstaining is religious belief, which is the excuse a man from New South Wales successfully used in court. He was agnostic, the non-voters of religion. Belgian voters who don't show up face escalating fines. The first offence is €10, the second is 25. Miss 4 elections in a 15-year period and you could lose your right to vote for a decade. Which kind of feels like punishing someone who doesn't stop at a red light by telling them they should just go ahead and ignore all red lights for the next 10 years. The catch is that Belgium doesn't actually enforce these penalties. One report shows they haven't made anyone pay any election-related fines in at least 15 years, begging the age-old question: if you don't cast your vote in a forest and no one is around to enforce it, is it compulsory voting? In fact, many countries with these laws don't strongly enforce them. So what good is compulsory voting if it's not actually backed with a meaningful penalty?
I don't really think at this point it's a fear of a fine that's driving people to the booth. The very large majority of the voting public in Australia supports compulsory voting. They want to participate.
It's possible that mandating voting creates a culture of people treating voting as a civic duty. According to one poll, even without compulsory voting, 87% of Australians would probably or definitely vote. But even if Australia is a voter's paradise, for some people, a paradise you're required by law to participate in isn't a paradise at all.
I have to vote. And if I don't vote,
These bastards are going to find me.
Even countries that aren't exactly considered flourishing democracies understand that the higher the voter turnout, the more legitimate the election winner seems. In North Korea, everyone over age 17 is required to vote, and they get to choose between voting for the single candidate in their district that's been selected by the ruling party, or that's it. Some people aren't on board with compulsory voting because they value not voting as a form of protest, and some people, especially Americans, just don't particularly want to be told what to do.
Anytime the government says you have to do something, there's a lot of people out there that automatically don't want that to happen.
The hurdle for many Americans is that they see compulsory voting as pitting collective civic responsibility against something they're madly in love with, individual liberty.
The government shouldn't be able to force you to do anything, which is why I love the draft, but I have to be against it.
It's going to be mandatory? No one's going to tell me that I have to vote.
I think that would be pretty screwed up, to force somebody to vote against their will.
The right to vote is a choice to vote or not to vote. And if you take away that choice, you're infringing on civil liberties, but you're also removing a check on an overreaching government.
Just because everyone votes doesn't mean they're actually engaged in the process. Compulsory voting tends to increase the percentage of blank or spoiled ballots, though that might be due to unengaged citizens or engaged citizens who hate all their options. Even then, there's still a net increase of turnout across the board. Buying into mandatory voting means you've also bought into the idea that low voter turnout is bad, and that's something that some American conservatives don't agree with.
If you're not engaged enough to vote, please don't. Please, please don't. Stay home.
They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
Mandatory voting in the US might seem like a particularly distant possibility, given how much the electoral system is designed to make voting feel less like a right and more like a privilege. Across the country, election rules can vary significantly, leaving a lot of leeway for some undemocratic tactics, like closing polling places, purging voter rolls, or creating barriers to access, like fees or voter ID laws. These barriers often disproportionately affect or are targeted at non-white and minority voters' ability to cast a ballot. A recent investigation showed that Donald Trump's 2016 campaign targeted millions of black American voters with Facebook ads meant to convince them not to vote. One poll found that 25% of American non-voters said they stayed away in 2016 for a simple reason. They just didn't like the candidates or the campaign issues. And there are plenty more reasons why someone might have sat it out.
I'm not voting because I don't feel passionate enough about any of the issues.
I just feel like that my vote isn't that important or would matter.
I just think that it's a waste of my time.
All the slandering they're doing to each other, I don't like that.
Voting.
Introducing Iron Beam, the best choice for futures trading. Iron Beam is the industry-leading
condones a broken system.
One of the simplest obstacles to voting in the US is having a job. Most countries have an ingenious fix for that particular obstacle. They hold elections on the weekend. The UK doesn't. It's elect Thursdays, for reasons no one entirely knows, though one theory is that since payday was historically on Friday, everyone would be too busy getting wasted that weekend to turn up. And the US, the country that wants to be #1 for making things complicated, votes on the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. Many US politicians don't even know why.
Okay, I'm going to be stumped on this. Everybody know why we vote on Tuesdays?
I don't know how that originated.
Do you happen to know why we do vote on Tuesday? No.
But there's a very reasonable explanation. The US established Tuesday voting in 1845. Sunday was ruled out because people would naturally be in church, and those who weren't were likely busy hiding the fact that they weren't in church. People who travelled home from church on Sunday in their horse-drawn buggies didn't have time to turn around and travel somewhere else for a Monday election. And the people who hadn't gone to church were still busy pretending that they had. So Tuesday was chosen for its convenience to those pre-Civil War Americans who could vote. See? A perfectly reasonable explanation. It's easy to see how slapping a compulsory voting law on an already outdated system would probably create even more problems for working people. If only there was some way to mark a weekday as a widely agreed upon special day that means most people don't have to work.
Why isn't Election Day a national holiday?
54% of voters said Election Day should be a federal holiday.
I do believe that people should get out and vote, because I do want to say something is that we don't pay enough to our education system, right? And who controls our education system? Not us. There's some numbers that I want to go over, and I want to show this video first. They're talking about how they pump money into public education, but yet the scores are falling. They're failing. Kids are failing, and by great numbers. So my thing of it is, if we're not getting out and voting, I want you just watch this video.
Also means it's kind of the end of summer. So that means in just a matter of days, we all go back to school. But today, the state released standardized testing results from the past school year, and they're still down from what they were before the COVID pandemic. Overall, just more than 45% of students hit their grade level benchmarks in math and just under 50% in reading. Both of those numbers were over 50% before COVID-19 arrived. But the good news is there's a silver lining. Math scores have been getting better slowly, low in 2021, but reading proficiency still continues to slip. And there's a big effort underway across our state right now aimed at addressing that reading issue and literacy at its core. Kent, I've heard it described as really going back to the basics.
Yeah, it kind of is, Jana, depending on, of course, what basics you're used to, how far back you go. For someone in their 40s, like say you and I, you might remember phonics lessons as a kid. That is one big pillar of new curriculum called the science of reading, and the state is putting millions of dollars into its implementation.
Reading curriculum in Roseville elementary schools this year will look and sound
So, whoops.
different.
This is brand new. We're taking these out of the packages.
The district made an early all-in investment into the science of reading for K through 6 students.
Books that they can read 95% of the words all by themselves.
But first, Dr. Mary Bussman says they had to invest in teaching the teachers.
This is a big shift.
To Minnesotans of a certain age, that shift might sound familiar.
We have a bud is in the sun. We are looking for those short U sounds. B, d, s, n. And the kids will read this together.
But that process of decoding words through phonemic awareness and other long-standing pillars of literacy has not been the norm recently.
What we were teaching kids is, if they came to this, let the corn grow up to the shin. A student might get to the word corn, and they haven't been taught the OR sound yet. So what the teacher would say is, well, what letter does it start with? K. Okay, K. Look in the picture, do you see anything that looks like that? Oh yeah, that's corn. And so we've taught our kids kind of how to systematically guess without actually being able to sound out all of those letters.
Essentially, you're reteaching how to teach
Yeah,
reading.
right.
How much of an undertaking is that going to be for
Right.
schools across the state?
Number one, it's a big undertaking, but there's a lot of emotion to it as well. Because we have to recognize if we do things differently in the future, we have to recognize that maybe we weren't doing the best on behalf of the kids we've been teaching the last 5, 10, 25 years.
And I want to be very clear, that's through no fault of their own.
Katie Pakel is Executive Director of Educational Leadership at the U of M's College of Education, which is working with the state on science of reading training and curriculum selection.
This is the most expansive effort I have seen relative to any change in schooling in my extensive career in K-12 education.
And the bipartisan READ Act, passed by the legislature this year, gave that effort a $70 million kickstart.
How long do you think it'll be before we start seeing this reflected in maybe these test scores?
I think we're looking at least 3, more closer to 5 years until we see some significant changes.
But Katie says some districts, like Roseville, which began training its teachers a year and a half ago,
Let's write the word fun.
already show what could be possible.
Some of our teachers who piloted using this new curriculum are already seeing huge gains in their classrooms, in those kindergarten and first grade classrooms. So I'm really hopeful it's not going to be that far.
But I want to say this is, how are people going to be getting involved? Because we had a special election yesterday, right? Where in Senate District 60, where there are over 85,220 residents. I want to say that again. 85,220 residents. Now I want to break that down to voters. There's 45,063 registered voters. The people that voted yesterday in the election were 8,561 total voters. The percentage of voters who actually showed up, 19%. percentage of the total population of that district that showed up to vote was only 10. So literally you only had, that man can say he speaks for 10% of his district, not the whole district, but only 10%. He say he speaks for the whole district, right? Because if only 10% of the population in that district cast a vote, and yet people act surprised when policies don't reflect their values. If only 1 in 10 people are stepping up to the ballot box, that means 90% of the district is letting a small group dictate their future. That's not voter suppression. That's voter apathy. You know what I'm saying? We got to look at that differently, right? Because if you don't like the way things are going, show up and vote. And stop letting 10% of people decide for everyone else. You know, that's the one thing about is that I see, and especially when it comes down to our education. You know what I'm saying? Our kids, isn't that something that matters, future generations? Because the new test scores, that's the nation's report card for those who don't know, just dropped. And it's bad, real bad. Minnesota, a state that had bought into this science of reading experiment, saw 4th grade reading scores drop. And I want to break that down because that was supposed to fix the magic bullet to improve our literacy rates, right? Instead, we're seeing lower scores, worse outcomes, and failing schools. And guess what? Nobody in the education system is held accountable. The same people who push this nonsense will come back in a year with another revolutionary idea. And more taxpayer money will burn. Our kids are the ones suffering, but politicians and bureaucrats and lobbyists keep pushing failed policies with zero consequence. Meanwhile, parents are forced to watch their kids fall behind, while being told they have no say in what happens in the classroom. And we got to get away from that because we do have control. You know, I will say this is that we do have control. And in my eyes, it's a scam, plain and simple. It's not even about educating. Why do you think a lot of these kids from these activists, they don't go to public schools? Show me an activist, right, that can afford to send their kids to private school that doesn't. What child do you know that goes to public schools? And then ask them what public school. If they do go to public school, what school? Because I guarantee it's not the district that they live in. I guarantee it. You see a lot of individuals get up here and talk that talk, but they don't walk that walk because money talks, bullshit walks. So they're going to talk that we got some of the best education systems in the world, but that's a motherfucking lie. That's a motherfucking lie. Because people don't pay attention. They're not paid to pay attention, right? They're not paid to pay attention. And that's, I don't know what we can do about that. You know, how do you inform people to sit here and want to do better? To sit here and want to do better for their communities so that they can make it better? Because it's crazy that there's another video, right? And it comes from Booker Hodges. He's the Bloomington police chief. And the shit this nigga is saying, man, it tripped me the fuck out. It tripped me out because it's like, are we really having these type of discussions? But then it shows me, why wouldn't we? With all the things that are going on in America, why wouldn't we be having these conversations? You know, that's the crazy part for me, and it's like, I don't understand it, right? So this video, you're going to see the police chief, Booker T. Hodge, talking about the inevitable immigration raids. I don't know. I guess it's something that he needs to talk about, and all the scams that could potentially happen.
Bloomington Chief Hodges here. This is going to be the first video that we record that we do one version in English and one version in Spanish using artificial intelligence. So what I want to talk to you about today is we have a lot of stuff going on about the topic of immigration. I want to get ahead of what is more than likely going to come in terms of scams. I want people to understand law enforcement, either federal, state, or local, is not going to call your house and ask you for money in order for them not to do something. If someone does that, it is a scam. They are trying to take your money. So I'm doing this video today to get ahead of this because history has shown that this happens. So again, federal, local, state, law enforcement will not call you and tell you to pay money in lieu of you getting charged with a crime or some deportation issue. We will not call you. So if that happens to you, it is a scam. Do not pay them. Thank you.
You spend $300.
Anybody else think that it's crazy that a police chief had to come out and say this shit? That people are, that's the one crazy thing, that people are so worried about individuals, like, don't work with them, don't work with them. Don't y'all niggas, well, they're not gonna call you. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody knocks at your door, hey, we're ICE, open the door. Niggas don't even open the doors for police, so how the fuck they gonna open the doors for ICE? So that's one thing I want people to think about. You know what I'm saying? They want you to, they're not worried about the police fucking up niggas. They're more worried about the police and federal agents talking about they're inhumane to immigrants. And that doesn't make no sense to me. So I want to show this video for a second. And you're going to see Tiffany Haynard, she's a mayor of Thornton Township, right? And there was a fight that broke out. And this is crazy. You're going to see this, I think, in a lot more places than just Illinois. You're going to start seeing this in Minneapolis. You're going to start seeing it in Chicago. I think people are going to come to a point where it's going to be by any means necessary. And by that, what I mean by that is motherfuckers going to have to put their dukes up and there's going to be fights. So I want to play this video of what happened last night at the board meeting, because this is going to happen. I don't want people to be like, damn, I can't believe it. No, this is going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. Coming to a city near you.
Breaking right now in the south suburbs, fist fights at a Thornton Township meeting tonight. This was our view from two different vantage points. Leaders are forced to clear the hall and stop working again as the chaos erupts.
In Battle Township, Supervisor Tiffany Haynard made a rare appearance there tonight, getting into the fray herself.
Our Jermont Terry witnessed it all, and Jermont, this happened after several Haynard-supported employees were suspended.
That's exactly right, Erica. Tonight's meeting was the first in months that they've had here in the township. And it ended with South Holland police getting called in and shutting it down after Supervisor Haynard's boyfriend squared up with someone making disrespectful comments towards the supervisor during public comments. And as you mentioned, it's a fight the supervisor found herself in the middle of too. As Jedediah Brown finished his public comments directed to Supervisor Tiffany Haynard, he ended with this. You gone. And before Brown could get back to his seat, Haynard's allies, including her boyfriend, Kamal Woods, confronted Brown and punches went flying. Several men joined the tussle where people threw punches and started kicking. Security guard tried separating the men. Witnesses say Haynard, who was in the front of the room with the board of trustees, ran towards that tussle. Her intentions unclear, but she did lose a shoe and was thrown to the ground. This guy in the black t-shirt is Kamal Woods, Haynard's boyfriend. He was also at the center of the trustees' agenda.
I would like to make a motion to put Kamal Woods and William Moore on administrative leave.
Woods was hired by Haynard to run the township youth program. and many on the board and in the community have questioned the work he and William Moore, another Hinyard ally, ever did in Thornton Township. The board placed them on paid leave immediately as investigations into their positions get underway.
Why is it with pay? Because they've been on leave with pay. They haven't done anything relating to what their roles are supposed to be.
Hinyard tried keeping the trustees from making the vote and argued placing Woods on leave is nothing more than personal.
No, and this is
Motion
political
passed.
retaliation. So again, thank you for the lawsuit, because y'all just picked certain individual. Y'all didn't come in here do no research, so I appreciate it.
But what was not appreciated is the chaos residents had to see firsthand. Now, many people left this meeting shaking their heads, talking about what an embarrassment this night was tonight. As for the fight, it ended the meeting. There was no adjournment. South Holland Police, again, we do not know if they arrested anyone and or detained anyone. The officers on scene would not comment. Reporting live in Thornton Township tonight, I'm Jermont Terry.
Wow. I'm telling you, that's coming to a city hall, to a county board, to a state capitol. You're going to see blows thrown. You're going to see probably Keith Ellison, Tim Walls. I'm going to tell you like this. Brandon Johnson, they've already been called to Washington, D.C. because we've had billions been spent in communities that they were supposed to make them better, but it only made them worse. And why? Because money wasn't going there. Those are conversations that niggas don't want to have. You know, I see at the state capitol, they're talking about all this fraud when it came to Feeding Our Future and all these other ones. We just uncovered another one in daycare. All the way from 2019 to now. And what's crazy is before 2019, they already had one. There was daycares shut down, so do we need to shut daycares down again? But who does that hurt? That doesn't hurt us. That hurts kids. That hurts kids. And I, to be honest, I don't understand it. And maybe I will never will. Is people sit back and they talk about whining. I voted. I made my voice heard. People think I voted for Trump, but I didn't. I voted for Andy Williams. And Rita Williams, I think her last name is Rita something. I don't remember it anymore, but I had it written down when I went to go vote. You know what I'm saying? So, come on, man. It's like, who did you vote for? If you didn't vote for nobody, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Because you didn't want your voice to be heard, because you get more off of not voting. I'm just saying that. Here's my thing of it is, why don't niggas show who they voted for? We out here be saying about fuck Donald Trump and these niggas be voting for him. Or they be like fuck Joe Biden or Kamala the hoe and be voting for them. Or they be saying, oh, we don't want no piggies. But then yet, when all this corruption and all this shit going on through our communities, they the quietest. They're the most quietest. They're the niggas that fall in line. Shiloh Temple, Jerry McAfee, Brian Herron. Them are that's the crazy. Them are field niggas. Them are yes massa niggas. Yes massa. I'll get you some Kool-Aid, massa. I'll get you some real good Kool-Aid. Get the fuck out of here. That's the one crazy thing, because I remember just like last year on Operation Hug the Block. Niggas came up to us talking about when y'all gonna pass out juice and cookies. Nah, we're not them type of people, man. We want change in our community. We just don't be out here. Because first of all, that I'm told that the cookies, I never seen this on my face, my own two eyes, right? But there was people in the community that were saying that the cookies were stale. Like y'all got the stale juice and the outdated juice and the stale cookies. I'm like, we ain't got none of that shit. We come out, that's the one thing. Feeding Our Future came over to 36th and Penn. We didn't know. We just know there was a U-Haul full of food and that it was being left there for us to get rid of. That's all we cared about. We didn't care about, well, maybe we should have. I honestly didn't believe him, because the dude was telling us, Empress, people don't know his name, but look him up. Amy Bach's boyfriend, was offering. He was like, man, hey, listen, man, I'm getting paid over $100,000 to just make sure this truck is empty. I said, wait, what? So every truck, that's why these look at how feeding our future was. These niggas was talking about they was feeding thousands and feeding none. But yet we're telling the MDE, Minnesota Department of Education, Medicaid, that they were changing people's lives, that they were doing this because they would promote a few people that did it on their own. I'm gonna say this, that did it probably on their own, and then was like, hey, or they were seeing what was going on, and they were like, hey, you better let me in, or I'm gonna say something. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, how much you being paid? Because everybody has a price. That's the one thing that I will tell you in America is that everybody has a price. They will look the other way, even though they know it's wrong. Even though they know it's wrong, they will look the other way. Because just like what you seen in this video, everybody was quick to pick up their phones and start recording because it was a viral moment. Not that they were going to get in between people and break it up, but because they were going to grab their phone and so they could record and make it a viral moment. World Star. That's a city council meeting where people are supposed to, a board meeting, whatever it was, are supposed to come in there and make policies and legislation and ordinances for their neighborhoods, for their communities, to make them better. And what was happening? There was people throwing fists. People were fighting. And who's ready for that? Because I'm by any means necessary. So if we're gonna throw blows, we're gonna throw it, but y'all gonna throw the first blow. Here's the thing, you can't say nothing about me that I haven't already heard, that I haven't faced my own truth. But I can look at you and be like, what makes you say you're a $330,000 paid activist? Like Nikema. How everybody that's tomorrow that's going to talk at Target, in front of Target on Nicollet, is a paid activist. And they're paid hundreds of thousands. And this is on paper. Nikema's almost, you know what's crazy is? If you look up Wayward Foundation and look how much these people make, you know what, motherfuck that. I'm going to do it right here. And then I'm going to get up out of here. I'm going to play it because I'm going to try to make this in only an hour and a half now for a couple weeks. But if you look at this, you know, that's the one thing is like people don't want to do their homework. I will say it is that people don't want to do their homework because they're like, no, that's not true. That's not true. Just like, where's everybody from Ion Burrell? Where's everybody from Ion Burrell? You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on now. Where's everybody from Ion? I swear to God, I can't understand. I don't get these people. It's like they let me see. This is one. No, hell no. That ain't it. I want to make sure I get the right one. I just know it's in Washington. That's where the home office is. That was Wayfounders Family Services or some shit. No, I think I just hit that one. Wayfounder Foundation. Let's see. Minneapolis. Let's see. Oh wait, that's why I made. I'm the dumbest hell. No wonder why I wasn't coming up. Because I wasn't punching the right shit in there. So here we go. Nikema. So this old one. I'm gonna see if I can get there. But no, I don't want this one. It's an old. I don't want the 2019. I want that newest one. Oh man, how do you get to the okay by year? There we go. Here we go. Yeah, I found it. So here's 2020, 2023, the last one they just did, but I want you to see how much these people make, right? And I wonder, this is not me. This is public information. I want to put this dead up ass on the screen so y'all can see this shit. That ain't no lie, no lie, no lie, no lie, no lie, no lie. So how do these people deserve? Oh, whoops, wrong one. All this type of money in our communities haven't changed, huh? All three executive director makes $170,000. She says she works 40 hours a week there, 40 hours a week at Wayfinder, right? Look at that money. These are all people, these are friends. We're not getting accountability. These are friends. These are friends. 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 How many of us have them? And then all the money they get. Total assets. We don't do shit, man. These people, this the crazy thing to me is that people get paid, and this is all legal. You know what I'm saying? So this is the Wayfinder Foundation is committed to making subgrants to community activists, right? Expenses last year was over $1.3 million. 1.3. Well, you know where most of it, at least damn near $500,000 went, and that went to the 3 salaries of Nakima, Chantel, and another lady. So it's like, how would we ever gonna get justice and accountability when you have paid activists, man? And I'm gonna do a rest before I get up out of here this week. I'm gonna do an episode all about nonprofits and how much they're CEOs, because it's like you can't sit here and say you're fighting for a community that you go home to, you go back to a big ass house and a fireplace and all that shit. And no, that's not the way that it goes. That's not the way that it goes. So I'm gonna show that again because I want y'all to see. This is, that's the whole crazy thing is that people don't even get is that people make money off our misery. Our misery is big dollars, big dollars, big, 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 big dollars, right? So, like I said, I'm gonna get up out of here today, and I want people to see for what it really is, and that all of this isn't about change. It's about what have you done for me lately? That's the way that I see it. It's like, what have you done for me lately? Ooh, yeah. It's like I don't understand it. And it's like, when are people gonna finally speak up and do something? Or are they gonna sit there and be quiet? Are they gonna sit there and just be, oh well, I don't wanna make no harm. I don't wanna really get into it because that I got a job, I got a family to feed, and I got all this. And it's like, wait, dog, what you mean? So do we. So how are you gonna sit here and talk about you tired of this shit, but then when people want to do something about it, you continue looking the other way and are okay with that. No, that's not the way that it goes, man. Eh, Say something. That's the one thing I will never understand, right? We're as a society have gotten to the point of being so desensitized to pain and trauma, to other people's pain. As long as it's not ours, we're okay with it. And I will never understand it, right? So, with that being said, you already know I did something about Amanda Sylvester and Jasmine Tucker. If you don't know their names, please go know them. But I'm going to get up out of here today, and I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Because that's it for today. But we're keeping the conversation going. Hit us up in the comments, share this episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the Urban Conservative. We're bringing the real every time, every We're bringing the real every single time. Until next time, stay sharp, stay aware, and stay in the fight. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven and hell, wish me well. Y'all have a great one, and I will be back tomorrow.
Amanda was light, Jasmine was a king. Now they rest in silence where angels sing. I see the sirens dance across cracked window. The hood cries out, but nobody knows. 5 deep they storm like wolves on prey. But their badges ain't justice, just fears on display. Mama said stay low, keep your head to the ground. But how you supposed to breathe when they're holding you down? Choking dreams out of brothers, like the wind don't blow. And sisters screaming prayers where the roses won't grow. How many tears gotta stain this ground? How many voices lost, never found? Amanda was light, Jasmine was a king. Now they rest in silence where angels sing. But silence ain't peace if they scream unheard. A cage built a raid in 4-letter word. Amanda was light, Jasmine was a king. Now they rest in silence where angels sing. History's a loop, got us locked in this fight. Still dodging the dark in the shadow of the night. They flood these streets with promises stand, but the weight of their words brush it where we begin. Serving